Hey, well, good Friday morning. I hope that you've had a great week. I know that we've had some cold weather move across the area. And in fact, I am with Mitch Whyte, one of our technical agronomists with AgXplore. And we are up in Minnesota. And Mitch, I think your thermometer said 12 degrees, and the wind is considerably cooler than that.
Yeah, yesterday we had 45-mile-an-hour winds, and it felt like it was a lot colder than 12.
Definitely. So, Mitch, where are we in Minnesota?
Right now we are in, I would say, southeast Minnesota, just outside of Albert Lee, which is off the I-90 corridor that we call it. So, yep, very good agriculture ground, a lot of good soils in this area, good corn and soybean yields.
Awesome. And we've been doing some grower meetings. And one thing that Mitch and I were talking about last night was cation exchange capacity and organic matter. And so I thought we'd just spend a little bit of time, and we stopped at a field and grabbed some soil and just kind of talk a little bit about what CECs are and kind of what you and I have seen in our careers as we go through. Yeah. So when we think cation exchange capacity, Mitch, I think it's probably one of the most important things that we see on a soil test.
Of course, yes.
And when we look at that cation exchange, I thought we'd just kind of focus on the name a little bit. So cation, right? When we think about that, that just means positively charged, right? Is all we're talking about there. But then that second word is really key, and it's exchange, right? It's the idea that the soil can grab it, and then the soil can let go of it. And as we kind of take a look at this soil, and it's a little bit frozen, when we think about cation exchange capacity, it's really driven by a couple of different things. It's driven by your parent material. What kind of clays do you have in there? Are they 1-to-1s? Are they 2-to-1s? And then this nice dark color, which is organic matter. Yeah. So, Mitch, when we think about CECs in this area, what do you deal with?
So in this area, you're going to see the high 20s, some 30s. We have a lot of peat ground areas in this geography, which that's going to get a lot higher. Then you get up in northern Minnesota. I know you talked in some of your last week's video was talking about the blow sand, sugar sand.
Yeah.
We're seeing 5s. Nothing, right? So it's literally it looks like a beach between your corn rows. So there's Minnesota, just like a lot of other places, and even in this area, you can go from good 20s to a dramatically different CEC in one field.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about nutrient management then, because one thing, you and I have got a chance to travel quite a bit in our careers, and just in the last month, I've probably been on CECs that were 5, and I've been up in Montana where they were 35, and back home where I'm from, it's mid to upper teens, low 20s, and you're kind of in that region as well, maybe kind of pushing that. Yeah. So when we think about nutrient management, what I really like to focus on is when we think about this exchange capacity, it's really a buffering capacity. As our plants pull nutrients out of the soil, our CEC allows nutrients like calcium, ammonium, right? We're right here at a large anhydrous plant. As we see calcium, potassium is going to fall within there, and some of our micros as well. And so the idea behind that is we need to know what our CECs are because it helps us manage our nutrients. And when you're dealing with those blow sands and those sugar sands, really low CECs, you really have to spoon feed your plants because you might show that you have a high base saturation, but you're really holding nothing. And then when we're on these nicer soils right here that have CECs probably in their 20s with some organic matter, we can actually apply some more during the fall and hold those throughout the year. And so I really like it when you and I deal with growers, we like to start with that soil test.
Yes.
What did you have? So when we think about how can we alter our CECs, we can't change parent material, we can't change the clay, but one thing we can change is organic matter.
Yes.
And organic matter is a great form of being able to hold those nutrients. A lot of negative charges on our organic matter, which help us hold all those positive cations in there. But when we're thinking about what you guys do, what are some things that we can do in-furrow wise in order to help temporarily change that CEC?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things we can do. There's different technologies out there, your humic acids being one.
Yep.
Those have just a natural ability to help that soil essentially increase its CEC ability, right?
Yeah.
So the humic acids, we have products like Upward that have that Inception Technology, which is part of it is that carbon or that humic. Just introducing that into your soil profile at that time of planting, just basically allowing your soil to be able to help hang on to those nutrients that you're applying at that time.
Definitely, and it's a great way, even if you're dealing with CECs that are a little bit heavier, but it's a great way to keep everything right there at that seed. right, is by adding in that humic acid, those organic acids that we have in there. So again, as we kind of think about this soil series that we're just getting started on, make sure you get your soil test pulled.
Yes.
It helps us answer a lot of questions when we come on somewhere. Next week, we're going to kind of continue to delve into this. But again, pull those soil samples, pull out your soil tests, and take a look at what your CECs are. If they're in those upper teens into 20s, you have quite a bit of holding capacity. You get down there in those single digits or those low teens, we really need to pay attention to what we're doing with our nutrient management, because we don't have the ability to hold that. But things that we can do to help modify it, adding organic matter. I love cover crops. I love that rooting structure. But even if you're not doing that, we have some new technologies where we can put those humic acids in there and hold our nutrients for a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Mitch, I appreciate the time. Always enjoy working with you.
Pleasure.